Good morning everyone. Welcome to Blinkwise. Today, I want to talk to you about something that affects each and every one of us. Habits. Especially the bad ones we've tried again and again to quit. But today, we'll explore a powerful way to understand, reframe, and change these habits, not just at the surface, but by addressing the deeper causes that keep them alive. Let me take you back to late 2012. I was sitting in an old apartment just a few blocks from Istanbul's famous Istiklal Caddesi. I was on a short 4-day trip to Turkey, and my guide, Mike, a friendly guy from Mane who had been living in Turkey for years, had offered to show me around. That evening, I found myself at dinner with Mike and a handful of his Turkish friends. Now, here's the interesting part. I was the only one in that group who hadn't smoked at least one pack of cigarettes a day at some point in life. Curious, I asked one of the Turkish men how he got started. His answer was short and telling. Friends, he said. It always starts with friends. That struck a chord. It reminded me how easily behaviors are picked up, not out of logic, but out of association and influence. But what was even more fascinating was that half of the people in that room had already quit smoking. Mike himself had been smoke-free for a few years. He gave all the credit to a book called Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. He said it didn't just help him stop. It freed him from the mental burden of smoking. What made the book so effective? It didn't rely on scare tactics or nicotine patches. Instead, Carr focused on reframing the habit. He stripped away the lies we tell ourselves about why we smoke. He would say things like, times, you think you're quitting something, but cigarettes do nothing for you. Times, you think smoking helps you be social, but that's not true. You can be social without it. Times, you believe it relieves stress, but it doesn't. In fact, it destroys your nerves. He repeated these messages over and over, urging you to see the habit for what it really is, a burden, not a benefit. By the end of the book, smoking starts to feel almost ridiculous. That's because Carr cleverly inverts the second law of behavior change. Instead of making a habit attractive, he helps you make it unattractive. Now, I know, this might sound too simple. Just change your mind and you can change your habits. But hang in there. Let's dig deeper. Every behavior we perform has two parts. A surface craving and a deeper, underlying motive. Take a simple craving like, I want to eat tacos. The real reason isn't just the tacos. It's the biological drive to get food and survive. It's the same with bad habits. No one was born wanting to smoke, scroll Instagram, or binge watch YouTube. Deep down, what we're craving is relief from anxiety, social connection, or a sense of control. Let's break this down. Times using Tinder? You're trying to find love and reproduce. Times browsing Facebook? You're trying to connect and bond. Times posting selfies on Instagram? You want social acceptance. Times Googling endlessly? You're trying to reduce uncertainty. Times playing video games for hours? You crave status and achievement. Your habits aren't random. They're modern-day answers to ancient human needs. But here's the key. Your current habit is just one way to solve a problem. It's not necessarily the best way. You might have learned to cope with stress by smoking. Someone else learned to go for a run instead. Both meet the same need, but one is clearly more harmful. So, how do we break free? We start by understanding that habits are built through associations. Your brain takes in cues from your environment and predicts what's going to happen next. These predictions are powerful. They determine how you react. For example, times you see steam from a kettle. Your brain predicts it's hot, so you avoid touching it. Times you hear a notification ding. Your brain predicts a message, and you reach for your phone. That cue prediction action loop happens instantly, over and over, every day. And those predictions are based on how behavior made you feel in the past. So the true cause of your habit isn't the event itself. It's the feeling or prediction you associate with it. Here's an important point. A craving is not the behavior. It's the feeling that something is missing. That feeling creates a gap between your current state and your desired state. That gap is what motivates action. We don't crave potato chips. We crave a feeling of comfort or control. We don't want to check our phones. We want to feel connected or entertained. The feeling leads the behavior, not the other way around. So, what do we do with this knowledge? We use it to reprogram our brain. We take hard habits and we make them attractive by changing how we think about them. And that begins with something as simple as changing one word. Instead of saying, I have to, say, I get to. Times, I have to wake up early for work, becomes, I get to wake up and work toward my goals. Times, I have to cook dinner, becomes, I get to nourish my family. This shift sounds small, but it can radically change how we view our habits. It turns burdens into opportunities. I once heard a powerful story of a man in a wheelchair. When someone asked if he felt confined, he replied, I am not confined by it. I am liberated by it. Without my wheelchair, I'd be bedbound. At least now, I can go places. That's reframing. That's mindset. That's transformation. Let's look at some examples. Times exercise. Instead of dreading it, view it as building strength and confidence. Times saving money. Instead of sacrifice, see it as buying future freedom. Times meditation. View distractions not as failures, but as opportunities to practice focus. Times stage fright. Instead of I'm nervous, say I'm excited. This adrenaline will help me perform. And if you want to take it further, try a motivation ritual. Pair a difficult habit with something enjoyable. Something that puts you in the right frame of mind. Like listening to your favorite music before a workout. Or doing deep breaths and smiling before facing a stressful moment. Over time, your brain starts to link the cue with the reward, and that habit becomes more automatic. Athletes do this all the time. Pre-game rituals, warm-up routines, music playlists. They aren't just for fun. They're training the brain to flip a switch into focus mode. And here's the takeaway. Once a cue is associated with a positive outcome, you crave it. Just like Ed Latimore, a writer and boxer, who noticed he focused better with headphones on, even without music. Why? Because the headphones became a cue. His brain said, time to focus. So whether it's petting your dog, doing yoga, or taking deep breaths, build rituals around things that lift your mood and sharpen your mind. You'll find you can carry those good feelings into the tougher parts of your day. To wrap this up, here are the key lessons. Times every habit has a surface craving and a deeper motive. Times your brain builds habits based on how they make you feel. Times if you want to break a bad habit, make it unattractive. Reframe it. Highlight what you're gaining, not just what you're giving up. Times if you want to create a good habit, make it attractive. Build rituals, shift your perspective, and associate positive emotions with the behavior. Times and finally, remember, your current habits are not your destiny. They are just solutions you've learned, and with awareness and action, you can always learn new ones. Thank you. If you like this video, please subscribe.